Favorite 49ers moment of all time?
Of all time. Oh, man.
Well, not of all time. And again, it doesn't
Lifetime.
have to be the big moment. Like, you don't have to say the catch or the Super Bowl win. And these could be oftentimes my favorite moments in life are the little moments. So these can be a personal fave.
Yeah.
Personal fave. Deep cut.
I'll go 3. We're going to do 3 of them. So I'm going to go 3 through 1. So for me, number 3 is 2011 divisional game versus the Saints. I remember that game very specifically. I was scheduled to work that day, and I worked it out with my boss to where I came in uber early just so that I could leave for 4 hours, watch the game, and then come back and work late, just to make it happen. I went over to my dad's house. We watched the game, and I remember we were the underdogs in that game. Nobody thought that the 49ers were going to win, even though they were at home, even though they were the team that had the bye. Nobody expected the 49ers to win. And I think it was that first series where we laid the wood on their running back. What was their running back's name? The Saints running back's name?
Pierre Thomas. And it wasn't necessarily us laying the wood, although I'd like to feel that we helped, but it was Dante Wood. Dante Wood definitely ended Pierre.
Yeah, he did. He went full Cam Chancellor on Vernon Davis. It was ugly. And from that point on, it was instant confidence in our team. You had I think it was a 49-yard pass to Vernon Davis. Just an amazing atmosphere, an amazing game, one that I'll never forget. And
the lead flip-flopped a bunch at the end. I covered that game. It was my first season on the beat. It was my first playoff game I ever attended. I didn't grow up going to football games because they're expensive. I went to baseball games. So that was my first playoff game at Candlestick. It was, I remember feeling like it was an electric atmosphere. I remember feeling overwhelmed a little bit. Wow. Like almost like a kid and a fan again. Not that I was rooting for the 49ers, but the way it ended was so dramatic. I remember feeling like it was one of the more stimulating experiences I've ever had. It was like, wow, the history, the crowd, the feeling like, oh my God, this is going to go in the pantheon of great Candlestick moments. Yeah. It had everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say I should have given an honorable mention. The honorable mention, this one was hard for me to keep out, but 2002 versus Seattle, Terrell Owens Sharpie game. I'll never forget that. That was Sean Springs, deep ball, gets the Sharpie out, signs it, gives it to his agent. It was both of their agent, I believe, Sean Springs and his agent. Yeah. That was an amazing moment. That was, honorable mention for me.
Okay.
All right. So number 2 for me, I almost put this number 1, but ultimately I couldn't put it over my number 1 spot. But number 2 for me was the catch 2. Wild card 1998 versus Green Bay. At that time, let's see, 98, I'm about 14 years old at that time. I had just witnessed us lose 3 straight playoff games to the Packers. They absolutely owned us, and it looked like it was going to go that way again. Yep. Everything was going against us. T.O. was dropping the ball. We got away with a fumble from Jerry Rice that easily would have lost that game, but they called it a non-fumble.
And they didn't have replay back then.
They didn't have replay, so lucky us.
It was obvious. They were talking about it during the game.
Dude, yeah. It was it wasn't even close. Like,
it wasn't even close.
His knee was barely on the way down, and he just dropped. Yeah, that was a clear fumble.
That was a Jerry Rice call.
Something finally went our way, and that T.O. catch, the announcer yelling, he caught it, he caught it, he caught it. T.O.'s crying in the end zone. Steve Young stumbles on the drop back. I'll just never forget that moment. The way that I felt in that moment. Again, it was like, as a 14-year-old kid, just the ultimate elation at that age after losing 3 straight to this team and should have lost another one. I'll never forget that.
Yeah. I'm glad that you did all the big happy moments, because all the ones that stick out to me are the little sad ones. It's like the stuff from the locker room that most fans don't remember or don't know because they weren't there. But those are the things, all the moments are the stuff that private,
Yeah.
Like
well, for you, you're in a different,
So I figured I'd share, but I've told these stories before. But week 2015, I mean, this was very dramatic. Some would argue that Jim Tomsula had pretty much pulled off a mutiny. that he had stabbed Jim Harbaugh in the back and taken the team, and he won week 1. Some people thought that was the right move, that Jim Harbaugh had worn out his welcome, and that this was the right move, that they had preserved the identity of the team, but gotten a more grown-up, sane, with it coach. And then he goes into Pittsburgh, and I was there, and they lost so bad. Kenneth Acker gave up like 800 touchdown catches to Antonio Brown, and it was like, I guess we learned that Kenneth Acker can't cover Antonio Brown. And so it was just a joke of a game, and it was clear like this team wasn't going anywhere. They're unprepared, and Jim Tomsula is not, in fact, an upgrade over Jim Harbaugh. And it was just like the whole fantasy of it had come falling down in one dramatic afternoon, and there was some shock. It was like the team had gotten knocked out, like in the first round. You know, like a first round knockout, cross to the jaw, reaching around on the canvas for your mouth guard. Like, what happened? Yeah, okay. So there was some strange behavior in the locker room after the game, particularly from the head coach. How is he going to handle getting his ass whooped? Well, usually you just, I don't know, maybe you're angry, maybe you don't show up, maybe you have some choice words in the press conference. No, he goes around like a position coach and shakes every player's hand and thanks them for showing up and working. My dad slaps me and said, look at this. And he does it to Joe Staley. He goes up to Joe Staley, shakes his hand, thanks him for his service for the day. Joe Staley starts like giggling and looking around like, you guys seeing this? Like, hey, we don't have a head coach. Hey, this guy's in over his head. He doesn't have the answers. We just lost by 30 something and he thanked us. So it's an all-timer, man. That was the Tomsula moment. I mean, the stuff with Harbaugh, like him emasculating, what was his Schwartz?
Yeah. Oh,
on national television.
Hold him in like that.
That was great.
Golly.
I mean, it was a bad move by Harbaugh, but I liked it. It was almost like boxing or UFC meets the NFL. Like that's the kind of disrespect that opponents should have for each other in the NFL, but they never do it. You ask a guy, what do you think of the Lions or the team you're facing this week? Oh, they're so well coached. They really fly around. They hit hard. They execute. No, man. Say that the head coach is a bum and that you don't care about him. I love that moment. Little things like that, I guess. So that was my favorite moment of Harbaugh tenure. I'm trying to think about the Kyle Shanahan. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I have one yet. I guess I have a strange sense of entertainment, I guess. I don't know.
Well, listen, it's cool because we're coming at it from completely different perspectives, right? You cover the team. You get a lot of inside information and a lot of internal conflict that we don't get to see. And frankly, you're not a fan, right? So you're going to have a different outlook on it. I'm 100% a fan.
I got one more. It just popped in my head. Okay, 2014. They just opened Levi's Stadium. Jed is so proud of it. It's all he cares about, all he talks about, and he wants it to be a success. Jim Harbaugh brings his players to practice on it before the season starts. It's in front of the media. This is in front of us. Open practice. He brings his players on it. They warm up for maybe 20 minutes. Maybe 20 minutes. One player slips. Maybe he slips. I didn't see it happen. Jim Harbaugh says, it's over. Ending practice. This grass is no good. We're getting back to the practice field. And it seemed like an innocuous thing to do it at the time, but he did it in front of the media. He showed up Jed York. He pooped on Jed York's favorite new thing. And he did it in front of us. And I was like, man, I don't think this is going to go well for you, Jim, but I love that you did it. Good luck. And then a couple of weeks later, we had reports that the locker room had turned on Jim. No, I think it's just that Jed had turned on Jim because he didn't like the grass, man.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
That's
grass
crazy.
Really ruined a relationship. Grass.
Yeah. Well, Harbaugh was a savage, though. You just talked about it with the Schwartz, and then dude, absolutely insane. Absolutely insane.
Oh, our owner just spent $1 billion on this. I don't care. It sucks. We're getting the hell out of it. He can talk to me if he doesn't like the way. I'm sorry. I'm here to win. I loved it. Jim, God love you. Greatest Lions moment going 0-16. We made history. You're bringing moments. How about when Chip Kelly lost how many games in a row? Was it 14? 14 games in a row. And all I could remember was silent practices that lasted 90 minutes and the most raucous games of ping pong and cornhole you have ever seen in a locker room. I mean, those guys would line up and play. Like, there was so much more passion for cornhole than they had for football last year, and that was Chip's fault. That was Chip's fault. I remember that, man. Chip, thanks for ruining my alma mater.
Who was the best cornhole player? I'm pretty good at cornhole. I'm curious.
It was Torrey Smith's set.
Oh, really?
He brought it in. He was terrific. Colin Kaepernick was always very good at everything that he did.
Yeah,
Colin, and he wanted you to know about it. Another great memory. God, I love Colin.
Do it. Yeah, okay. Throw him out.
Okay. So Colin was 2013, man. He was on top of the freaking world. He'd just gone to the Super Bowl, 25 years old, and they had a little mini Nerf basketball hoop in the locker room to promote competition. So he comes in, he's got his shirt off, and he wants you to see that he's playing, and Marlon Moore was the wide receiver at the time. He was just on the team, and he goes up to Colin. He goes, "Hey man, Colin, you're pretty good. Did you play basketball in high school?" And Colin stops like the needle had been pulled off the record, like, yeah. What? And he stops and he looks at him and he goes, "You didn't know that?" I was like, man, that is such a jerky thing to say to someone. Like, you didn't know that? And Marlon Moore looks like, "Hey man, I'm sorry I didn't read your Wikipedia page," which I thought was a great comeback.
Oh, he said that? He actually said it?
"Hey, man, I'm sorry I didn't read your Wikipedia page." Like, hey, dude, good for you. Don't take that. Don't take that from the quarterback. Colin, you really said that, man. That's why when people think of Colin as like being the greatest person of all time, he may be. But he really said that to someone when he was 25. I'm sorry, dude. You can't talk like that to people. You didn't know that about me? You didn't read? You didn't do your homework? You haven't watched the biopic? You know he's making a biopic and writing it. He's producing a biopic about himself. It's like that Chappelle Show skit about Antoine Fisher, the Dave Chappelle by Dave Chappelle. Kaepernick's really doing that. He's really doing that. God love you, Colin. Takes a lot of balls to produce this story about yourself, but he's going to do it.
I went and read some of your dad's old articles before, all the S hit the fan with Kaepernick, and he was not. He did not like Kaepernick. He thought he was a pompous jerk, from what I understand.
He was a very pompous 25-year-old. Maybe he's different now. He's 33 now. But dude, totally 25, different. Man, you can't talk to people.
Speaking of, talk to. That's a Kaepernick signed pick right behind me.
Hey, God love you. And maybe because he wasn't like that when he came to the team. He wasn't like that at Reno. He wasn't like that in high school from all reports. Maybe Jim Harbaugh was a bad mentor for a young man at that point. I feel like Jim Harbaugh really enabled all of Colin's worst behaviors as a young man. And maybe it would have been good for Jim to be like, "Hey, Colin, don't do that." But I don't know. Maybe Jim did. I don't know.
To be fair, they were also giving Alden Smith chance after chance back then too, if you remember.
Yeah, I don't think there were a lot.
What a bad way to set a tone.
Yeah, I don't think Jim was really telling people how to, about comportment. It was basically kick ass on the field, and don't worry about anything else.
Yeah,
don't worry. If you don't want to talk to the media, don't talk to the media. I don't like the media either. Basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. They let a lot of things slide. That we know that Shanahan and Lynch, quite frankly, wouldn't let happen. I mean, they didn't. They set the tone right away with Reuben Foster.
Yeah, Lynch and Harbaugh have a lot in common, but Lynch just is. I love Harbaugh, but Lynch is just a much classier, subtler person than Jim. I mean, Jim just knows one way of doing things, and that's right in your face. Yeah. Lynch has a little more finesse, but he's also a much harder hitter than Jim Harbaugh was. Much harder hitter.